Welcome to Bases 24, Part 4, with the Gridkeeper, giving some of the most compelling stories and background data ever spoken about James Casbolt, confirming many of his stories and connections with MI5. This is probably the most enlightening and important information so far, given from an independent witness who has seen the Firefly and given a demonstration and a whistleblowing exercise by MI6 at Peasmore. Compelling whistleblowing from Peasmore, the base that Barry King spoke of over 20 years ago. Here we have Bases 24, Part 4, with the Gridkeeper. Well, Dunks, is it okay to call you Dunks?
Yeah, it's fine.
Thanks for bringing us out here to the wonderful race course.
You're welcome.
In the area, is it Goodwood?
Glorious Goodwood.
Glorious Goodwood, and it's just there.
Just there, over the hedge.
And the beautiful South Downs of Sussex.
Yes.
In England's green and pleasant land. And this is where you've had an awful lot of stuff go on.
Yes.
And we're also going to be talking about things in space you've seen from here. Is that right?
I don't know.
Or one of your colleagues?
I can't really talk about that today.
You can't really talk about it.
Not without him, really, because it's all... I'd like to. But
Well, let's
maybe we
talk
could
about...
do that another time,
yeah.
hopefully. I would like to, but...
Well, let's talk about James Casbolt.
James, I could tell you the first time I met James and what happened.
Yeah.
And we were sort of introduced to James through the Probe UFO conference, if you're sure.
That's the one up in Black
Yeah.
in Lytham Sedans.
And we decided to, well, my friend got in contact with him, and we decided just to drive down to St Ives and meet the chap. So we jumped in the car, three of us went down there.
The three of you being...
My friend over there, and one of our other friends who lives in Glastonbury now, but he doesn't have much to do with anything anymore.
Is that anything to do with Matt?
Matt?
Matt Todd?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now,
Oh,
we
Steve
have interviewed a
from
guy.
Glastonbury. Okay, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Matt Todd seemed to have done a little bit of work with James.
Okay. I only know James from 2007, is it? It's 2007, wasn't it? It was at the end of 2006. Can't remember. Could have been the end of 2006,
Yeah.
early 2007. And we've gone down to St Ives.
Which is in Cornwall.
In Cornwall. Got there about 6, 7 in the morning. Sat in the local pub waiting for James to turn up, and he said he was on the beach, so I've walked down there on my own into the little bay where the boats are, walked out onto the sand, walked up to James, shook his hand. As soon as I shook his hand, I heard this noise in the sky, and a military, presume it was Navy, Sea King helicopter came over the cliff, 40 foot off the sea, came over onto the sand, hovered about 10 foot off the ground, the side door opened. I was still standing there with James shaking his hand, and we've both looked at this thing, and I'm like, what the bleep is going on? And he grabbed me and threw me on the floor, and he screamed at me, and he went, "Blue beam," threw me on the floor. And there was at least 2 guys, all in black, standing with the door open, and one of them had this weird device, and a blue flash came out the front of it, and I remember seeing that. Obviously it didn't hit us because he'd thrown me onto the floor, but there was, because it's a holiday makers town, there was quite a few families already walking along the seafront, and the beam hit a crowd of people behind us, and there was a chap walking with his wife and children, and a bloke in a car, only 10-20 miles an hour, and he sort of swerved and nearly ran them over, and they sort of started fighting. The bloke in the, do you remember? Yeah, the bloke in the car was screaming at the people in the road, and these two chaps had a bit of a barney. And
did he injure anybody? It hurt anybody?
I don't think, it wasn't a fight. It was more of a scuffle, and it sort of faded away, and they sort of came to their senses. But it was just, blue beam, and that happened. So
now, what is blue beam? Because some people think, some people say it's like projection of big stuff in the sky, or it's a direct to mind thing where you think you're being abducted.
All of the above. But all I know is there was a blue flash. Could have been anything. I don't know what it was. But we saw the result of it happening behind us. Whether that was a coincidence that the bloke in the car was just looking at the helicopter and nearly swerved into these people, I'll never know. But it all seemed to happen at the same time.
It seems to be a remarkable coincidence that the first time that you meet James Casbolt, there's a helicopter hanging there, and there's a couple of men in black with a weapons system. Yeah,
I'd never had experience with that I could remember from before that time of having any experience with the helicopters or anything. But it kick-started a lot.
Now, what brought you to meet James? What brought you guys down there, all three of you?
Just interested in his story, really, which then led to Peasmore.
And you got the story from where? Where have you seen that story?
I think it was someone giving out audio discs at Probe, and we listened to one of them. Well, why don't we go and meet this chap, find out what's going on? Just intrigued, really, and that then led to him talking to us about Barry King, and saying that Barry produced the newsletters called The Voice.
Yeah.
So
I actually helped photocopy those at Sky News. I was doing overnights at Sky News.
Well, I ended up with a copy of nearly all of them.
You probably need to send a check into Sky Television to pay for the photocopier paper.
Oh wow. Well, I read through a lot of them and discovered this place called Peasmore, and I'd worked at Harwell Laboratories before in the past.
Now that's a big thing.
But not...
What did you do at Harwell Laboratories?
It wasn't working for them. I was contracted to install a lot of furniture into the offices. I used to do a lot of that years ago. I was furniture installation.
When you mean years ago, how many years?
97 onwards. Sort of stopped. I was just doing it on and off for years. I did a bit last year as well.
And what's it like in the Harwell labs?
I don't know. I didn't see the labs. I've been in labs. I've been in a lot of pharmaceutical labs around the country, fitting out their actual laboratories.
So what you mean by fitting out the woodwork and the structures for where they do the experiments? Or?
Yeah, it's all made out of Trespa. There's no real wood. The wooden cabinets, but all the tops, and just like a science laboratory at school, really, but more elaborate. And that was it. I never saw anything past that, really. But when I was at Harwell, I was in the offices, and I'm working on people's desks. I did see paperwork with experiments written on, but it was always about animals, rabbits, and I didn't see anything.
Well, that stuff it was really classified. Shouldn't have been even made to a contractor.
No, I probably shouldn't be talking about it. But I never, I never signed anything, or it was left there, and I saw it. So yeah, I was in their offices. So for someone to talk about Peasmore, that I knew was near Harwell Laboratories, of course it interested me. And when I read Barry's documents, I went through one that showed the underground train system.
Yeah.
And the cloning facility of his drawings, and at the end there was a last bit of paper, and it said, if anyone goes there, watch out for this. And he drew a sketch of the Firefly, which was the triangle, the pre-TR3B.
Yes. And
it said red light in the middle, and at the bottom he wrote, if you don't believe me, go and look for yourself. Well, that was it. We're going to have a look for ourselves. So my friend that I went to Cornwall with. We arranged to meet James, and we drove up to Peasmore late afternoon one day. Didn't know what to expect, what we were really looking for. We just thought we'd go up and just spend the evening at Peasmore. So we went in the pub, had a drink.
What about the pub?
I'll come back to the pub in a bit, because something did happen in the pub.
The pub, yeah.
But when we were first sitting in the pub just having a drink, that was when the second time I experienced helicopters coming over. And I know they do a lot of training around there anyway, but they were pretty close to the pub, and we went for a walk in the woods. They came out right over the woods and up the road, going around us. And we were like, well, let's see if we can find a hill to go and stand and see if we can spot any UFOs, like you do. So we went up on the hill, and the farmer's assistant came up to us in a Land Rover, said we shouldn't be here. So we went back to the pub.
Which part were you at that they said you shouldn't be here?
We were right near the farm, the main farm at Peasmore. I can't remember exactly where it is.
So it was merely a civilian person?
We think so. Yeah, James said he had weird eyes and everything, but I don't...
What kind of weird eyes?
I don't know. I can't remember what he was on about, really. I think he was probably a bit boss-eyed or something.
Yeah.
But
that would be interesting.
You know, we were on private land. You know, it was a farm. It's not a public... There wasn't a public right of way, and we did go up a track we probably weren't supposed to go up. So we went back to the pub, but we bumped into the farmer. The farmer was in there very drunk. So we just came out of it, and we said, yeah, we've heard rumours that there's an underground base under this area. Do you own the land? And he said, no, I'm just the farmer, and I've been here for 15, 20 years or something. And he did say to me, well, it's funny you should say that, because over the years, dips have appeared in some of the fields, and there's no explanation as to why.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And he said, well, and he was very drunk, but he said, oh, maybe there is something there. But a lot of the locals, we spoke to a few of them in the pub, and we've heard about this, but we don't know.
Now,
and we found that very interesting.
Have they heard it from the basis thing? This is what I'm saying. I'm very conscious that because I've reported this.
It could have been, because that was a while ago.
It was very limited release.
Yeah.
And this is before there was too much internet for most people.
Yeah,
really.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
I'm just very conscious that I could be feeding a story on my own stuff.
Yeah.
And self-perpetuating a myth, which is, of course, just all hocus pocus from Barry King in 1983.
Well, you know, then the farmer said about these dips, so we told him, you know, we've just come to investigate. Oh. Yeah, so, you know, we were just interested, and we said to the farmer, can we go up on the hill? He said, I'll make a phone call and make sure you're allowed up there. The bloke won't hassle you. So we've driven up the hill near an old copse. We were in a white transit van, and we've got a video camera out, binoculars, whatever, and you know, we're looking up the sky every time an aeroplane come over. We're a UFO, no aeroplane, and we must have been up there for about an hour. And we were like, well, you know, it's midnight or getting close to 1 o'clock in the morning, let's go. As soon as we said that, lo and behold, 3 white lights came slowly over the top of us with a red light in the middle, and it stopped dead. Well, we were quite excited, weren't we? Screaming and shouting. I've pulled out my video camera, just a Sony DV cam, and I had it on manual focus. I always have it on automatic. I must have knocked the button. So I'm trying to film this thing, and you could just about make out there was a triangle there with a red blob in the middle. 3 blobs for white lights, because I couldn't work out why it wasn't focusing. The next thing you know, it's just gone. So it just went, didn't it? I don't know. But before it turned up, because we just looked at the time, we're about to go, then we saw it. We've all got back in the van. You know, I'm holding up the picture that Barry sketched, which we'd taken with us, holding it up to the camera, just filmed it. And I said, I think it was you noticed the time, didn't you? Yeah. We'd lost an hour. As far as we knew, this moment happened for 3 or 4 minutes. We got back in the van, it was an hour later.
Any marks on your bodies? Any?
Didn't even think to...
Did you think that the farmer made more than one phone call?
Slow walking. I don't remember any of that. Don't know, don't remember. This is all I remember. And then we've gone home. You know, but 2 weeks later, I was telling a friend of mine about this, and he knows nothing about any of this stuff, and he said he'd drive me up there. And that's funny because I actually went for a drink with him on Friday, and I said to him, do you remember what happened in 2007? And in the pub, and he said yeah, and he recalled it very well. And what happened was we went back, we looked around, no helicopters, nothing, it was all a bit boring. Well, let's go and have a drink in the pub. We've sat in the pub, did a time check.
Now, is this still the Peasmore pub?
This is the Peasmore pub. Did a time check, 9 o'clock, yeah, 9 o'clock. It was a football night, England playing someone else. There must have been about 40 people in the pub, all having meals, eating dinner. It's quite early evening. No, sorry, it was 9 o'clock. We got there early evening. 9 o'clock, there were still people eating. All the lights went off. I mean, like, complete power cut. I remember everything going black, completely. The lights come back on, and this is in over the space of a second. Not milliseconds or a fraction, it was a good second. So yeah, the space of a second. The clock's on the wall next to us. I've looked at the clock, it said 10 o'clock.
So that means you lost 2 hours.
Well, it was 9 o'clock when it happened.
Yeah, but you lost with the TR, with the...
Oh yeah, another hour. So I'm looking at the clock, I'm looking at my mate, and I'm trying to think. I'm drinking Coca-Cola, you know, I've not even had a beer. So I said to him, show me your phone. And we'd literally checked our phones. And it's weird because when it happened before, we checked the time. It's like just after you've checked the time, you know? So he showed me his phone, it said 9 o'clock. I looked at the wall, it says 10 o'clock. I've turned my phone over, my phone says 9 o'clock. Said to the person behind the bar, what's the time? 10 o'clock. Yet we checked our phones to the clock on the wall, all 9 o'clock. Second later.
And had everybody left?
No, everyone was exactly the same. Exactly the same. Everyone in the pub.
So were the same people sitting in the same place?
Same people in the same places. Yeah. Yeah.
And the clock is a clockwork clock? Or
Clockwork clock, yeah. White dial clock, standard. Didn't know what to say, didn't know what to think. But of course, it's all we talked about for the 2.5 hour drive on the way home. Now, when I got home...
Did anything happen on the way home?
No. But when I got home, I was on the computer looking on YouTube. It must have been, I don't know, I stayed up till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I think at about 4 o'clock, the room just went like that on me. Hard to I can't explain what I saw, how I felt.
The room rotated?
Yeah, it was like the room went.
But did you rotate with it?
I don't think I did. No. It was like everything went around me.
Was it like an elastic moving, like a sort of a...
Yeah. It was weird. Hard to explain.
A bit like jelly or jello, you know, as wobbling.
Yeah. I thought maybe I'm tired, but it's the only time it's ever happened, and it happened on that night.
What were you looking at on the computer? Can you remember?
YouTube. I was probably looking at bases actually.
Oh my!
I was probably doing research on that. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah, but then I thought, well, I've got this film. Oh, I'd looked at the film as well. I'd uploaded the film onto my computer just before that. So I thought, well, sod it, I'll make my first YouTube film. So I made a 15-20 minute film, and it was just us going, basically what I've just told you, you know, when we went, that was it, yeah. I put the film on there from when we went up there with James, because I hadn't decided to do anything with that yet. And it was after this happened, I thought I'll put it on YouTube, see what happens, see if anyone gets back to me. So I've edited the film, had James talking on it for a bit, and then the bit when I had to write an apology on there, say, look, you know, this doesn't prove anything. It's a blur. All you can see is a triangle. You can tell I'm filming the sky, and then I put some of Barry's diagrams of the base on there, uploaded it to YouTube.
Do you still have that film?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
as a file or as an edit?
It's a complete file, because I'll tell you what happened to the edit. Within 4 days, I think it got about 27,000 hits. And I got a phone call on my mobile phone, and it said my name, my full name, and they said, I think you know who we are. We want you to remove what you've put on YouTube off the internet. And I'm thinking, who the is this? And I've then heard a helicopter, and the bloke on the phone said, look out of your window. And I was in a flat in a city. I looked out the window and there was a blue Sea-King helicopter, I don't know, half a mile away, just doing a little semicircle thing. He said, now look out the other window, and there was a yellow one, and they were just flying around me like this. Didn't know
This is a tremendous amount of overt thing, which tells me that they want this story released.
Yeah, and it was, and I've got something. I'll show you something. I've got a document here, which I'll show you in a minute. And
Don't let it blow away in the wind.
no. And, so that happened, and so I'm just trying to remember exactly what happened with the phone call. He said, remove the video from YouTube. And I said, do you know what I filmed? And he said, yes. I then said, well, if you're going to fly over me in a £2 billion craft that was built on Earth, you should at least know that I'm standing there with a video camera. I've not signed the Official Secrets Act, and the thing stopped over me. What do you think I'm going to do? Well, it's denoticed, you've got to remove it. Blah. I said, denoticed? I'm not the media and I've never signed anything. I said, Edgar Rothschild went public with the TR-3B and he's spoken about it, did an interview. And I said, it's even been mentioned on Discovery Channel. He went, yeah, that's America, you're in England. You do what we tell you. So I then, what did he do? He put me on hold. And I still wasn't 100% sure who I was talking to.
You mean you didn't capitulate and collapse into the ground saying, oh yes, 3 bags full, sir?
No, but I was a bit shaky, you know, I was a bit, what the f is going on? So he put me on hold, and a message came up and it said, thank you for contacting MI5. If you have any information you'd like to share with us, please contact us on this phone number, or you can email, look on our website at mi5.gov.co.uk. And I just launched the phone across the room and it hit the wall and blah blah blah. And that was basically it. There was more to the conversation, and there was a lot more to the conversation. Obviously, I'm not saying it word for word, but I have a recording. I recorded most of the conversations I've ever had with MI5. Now you're going to ask me, where are they? They're in Ireland. But they're on a hard drive, I've got them. So I removed the video. I didn't know what else to do, I removed it. But then things started happening. I got more involved in looking for UFOs, presenting information on the moon through my other source.
That's the man with the telescope.
Yeah, and then we got involved,
which is so got John Lear so interested.
And we then unwittingly filmed a lot of the craft linked to the secret space program, the Star Wars project, and a lot of other things.
Now explain how you unwittingly filmed secret craft with the secret space program.
We didn't know what they were,
and
so we put them on YouTube to try and find out.
Where did you do this?
Huh?
Where did you do this filming?
I can't, Miles. Without him being here, talking about it without him could shut him down. He might not ever say it, you know, and I'd like him to one day come forward.
I'm having a bit of fun here, but
and properly talk about it with you, if that was possible. I then got this. You are quite more than welcome to read that. I won't show you the address, but it came in this envelope, a small handwritten envelope, briefly shown to you, and it was written on a construction worksheet, business unknown, but it's a corner just torn off, and it says, Duncan, can you ring Ron Clark, contact telephone number, and any of you can Google this telephone number, 0207 060 6063. Hope all is well, all the best, signed Ron Clark.
Now, what's the significance of what
written underneath the phone number with a line under it in capital letters is the word good firm. That's a password. It's a password for ringing MI5, and that's MI5's phone number. This letter was delivered to my mother's house. I didn't know who it was, so I rang the number on a Sunday and it went through to a mobile phone. The chap that answered it, Bob Taylor, who I know James has spoken to a lot of times, asked me how I was, what I was up to, general friendly questions. I'm like, who are you? I said, what do you do? Oh, I work for a construction company laying pipes. I'm in Southampton at the moment. Maybe, I think my boss would probably be offering you a job. If you can ring back on Monday on this number, you can get to speak to him. All recorded on tape. Never put on YouTube, just tucked away somewhere. So I rang back on Monday and I got through to this chap and I asked for Ron Clark and he said, oh, I'll put you through. What's your password? Well, me being a bit thick, didn't realise that's what that was at the time. He said, without a password, I can't help you. So put the phone down, spoke to James, and I read him this. He said, well, that's your password. So I rang up, said that, and he said, I'll put you through.
Now, this is important because it means that James knew the password, and therefore...
Well, he said he didn't know the password, but he said to me, that probably is what the password is.
Yes, yeah.
And he was right. Was it you? Sorry, it wasn't James, it was him. He told me that.
We've got to understand that we've got a gentleman off screen.
James did use this password though, at a later date. I gave it to him and he used it. And they rang me back.
Well, it must be a fairly ordinary low security password,
so,
obviously.
Yeah. So I then rang back and I said, look, I can't get through to this Ron Clark. So they gave me this mobile phone number, which got a lot of zeros in it. I don't know. Should I show you the phone number? I don't know. You can look at that.
We'll get a lot of nutters. Well, fine not.
I don't care. I never got to speak to this chap anyway. That was the number I was given. I was told to ring back on Thursday. He was doing something. Ring back. So I rang back. Never got an answer. Have you got it?
Yeah.
So, this was the funny bit. I rang MI5 again. You know, and I'd Googled the number. This was their main contact number on their website.
Well, if it's on Google, it must be right.
Yeah, yeah. So I rang Bob and I'm like, hello, I spoke to you you were with me, weren't you? I said, yeah, I spoke to you the other day. And he was like, who are you, what's this about? I said, no, well, we spoke, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure who you are. I said, no, I'm trying to get hold of Ron. I can't get hold of him. And he started being really funny with me. And he put the phone down. So I rang back. And when he picked the phone up, he went, no. I rang back and he said, yeah, where you going, mate? I went, what? He said, where do you want a taxi to? I said, what do you mean? I said, you're MI5. I'm what? Don't be ridiculous. What you do? Do you want a taxi or not? Stop wasting my time. I said, no, I don't want a taxi. I said, I've been ringing you for the last few days to speak to this chap because you sent a letter to my mother's house. What's it all about? He said, no, you're wasting my time, mate. Put the phone down. So I rang back. I've recorded this as well. So I rang back again and he picked the phone up and he went, 007 taxis. Didn't he? And I was like, mate, you're having a fucking laugh. You're off your head. And I was getting a really little bit pissed off with him. And I said, mate, you're not a taxi firm. You're MI5. He said, you're off your head, mate. Are you mad or what? Started laying into me a bit. I said, all right, if you're a taxi firm, what's the name of your taxi? 007 taxis, mate. Stop wasting my fucking time. Put the phone down. So I rang him back again. He said, do you want a taxi? I said, yeah, what's your address, mate? He went, 146 Shaftesbury Avenue. Do you want a taxi? No. Well, fuck off then, and put the phone down. And I left it at that. A week later, I drove up to London to look for 146 Shaftesbury Avenue, and it doesn't even go up that far. It goes up to about 138 or something like that. And that was it for a while. I carried on putting films on YouTube, up to about 500 films now. But James contacted MI5 because he wanted some documents to do with his file.
When was this?
2008, probably. So I was doing some furniture work in London, coming back in the evening. My phone rings, private number, hello. And the chap on the other end of the phone, Bob Taylor. You can reckon his Brummie accent, recognise his voice. And he said, I've just had a conversation with James. Can you tell me about that? I was like, what? I said, mate, you're the one who's just had a conversation with James. And you're asking me about it. I know nothing about it. He said, well, I think you need to speak to James. Would you like me to put you through to him? I said, well, hang on a minute. If you put me through to his phone, you're going to record it, aren't you? And he went, yes, sir. And I went, no, sod off, I'll ring him myself. I went, no, hang on a minute, that's going to cost me. If I ring him, you're going to record that as well, aren't you? He went, yes, sir. I said, well, put me through then. The next thing you know, it's ringing. James answers the phone. I said, you've just had a conversation with MI5. He said, yeah, I'm trying to get some information about, I want to see some of my file from the past. And they said they'll show it to me. I said, well, they've just said this to me. He said, I don't know. And that was it. And then I said, all right, see you later. And didn't even get to speak to that bloke again after that. So I don't know what, that was just weird, mate. Just weird. So,
They seem to be just having a laugh.
Don't know.
Or checking you sideways.
Yeah.
It's the rotation.
It's weird. So there was another incident, which isn't my place to say what happened, but it was quite a horrific thing that happened, and it involved the police and to do with kidnapping, and it all stunk of an MK Ultra setup that someone was sort of mind controlled to do something really nasty that was connected to us, and someone was taken. So I rang up MI5, and when it happened, the first thing I saw in my head was all this involvement from their side. So I rang MI5 and I said, you've got to stop this now, sort it out. I know this has happened. It's not normal for this to happen the way it's happened. Didn't really get anywhere. So I phoned James. I said, James, you've got to ring them up. We've got to get this person back and stop this.
Was this a man or woman? Can we talk about that?
A woman. A woman was taken. Not very nasty business. And I said to James, use the password. James rings up MI5, Bob Taylor. Said, hello James, what can I do for you? He said, I need to speak to someone about this incident that's just happened. Password, good firm. He gets put through to some scientist chap, and no, sorry. He gets put through to someone else. James then says exactly what I told to tell him about. We know don't say we think you did this, tell him we know you did this. The agent or whatever on the other end of the phone went, oh, you must have been talking to Dr. Borden, and came back with a name. Within 3 or 4 hours, it was all sorted. The woman was put under semi-police protection, the bloke was taken in, but released the next day or the day after, put back on the streets. I know that because I saw him. He drove up to me and my friend in the street and just pulled up in his convertible, looked at us and went, all right, is there a problem? Everything all right? And we just had to stand there and grit our teeth and go, yeah, everything's fine, mate. Knowing what he'd just done. So that was just...
is that something you want to talk about?
It's not for me to say, but someone may talk about that to you in the future. So, you know, my experience after that, I didn't see James too much. But every now and again we'd meet up and have a meal or something and have a chat. But
what is your significance about James at that time? How do you feel that he was important, that it was relevant, that it was meant things?
It just felt right to spend time with him and experience some of these things that aren't really normal.
Such as?
Just going out looking for UFOs and things like that, really. And being with James and having helicopters turn up. You know, I can give dozens of times. I've been on top of that hill and I've had Chinooks come down over me. I've been...
I mean, we're at the end of a runway here, a small airport.
Yeah, Goodwood race, yeah. And the military do training over here anyway, but I'm talking we've met up and you'll get a Chinook turn up within 5 minutes and it'll just hover 100 yards away from you and you'll get flashing lights come off it and all sorts.
But that's an expensive piece of hardware to have flying around, just sort of giving a few
We use an SAS base 8 miles away from here.
Oh, there's the SAS here.
So they're not... It doesn't take them long to get here, and you've got Portsmouth Navy Base 16 miles from here. And I've been, you know, I did a bit of painting and decorating in 2009, literally over that hill down the other side on a housing estate this is where the military police headquarters used to be, and MI6 used to bring helicopters in and all sorts into this walled bit, and it had been shut down and I was up next to it. I was painting a chimney stack or something. I put on this scaffolding and I'd probably just put another film on the internet, and there was a Navy Lynx helicopter with the big Marconi radar ball on the front of it, grey one, came straight, could see it coming from Portsmouth, straight up to where I was, went past the old police headquarters, hovered over the road, eye level with me. I'm standing there with a paintbrush on a bit of scaffolding and this thing's edging towards me from, see where that tree is? It's about there.
We're talking something like
the side door opens, there's two guys.
Meters.
There's two guys all in black and they're looking at me. So I'm waving my paintbrush going, what? And they start get right up to the house and they start edging around me like this. Now you've got Goodwood Airfield down there, and depending on the wind direction they take off. Sometimes over the estate I was at. Now my video camera's down on the ground and I'm kicking myself that I've not got this thing up on the chimney. The pilot has edged around into the flight path. Plane's taken off. Swerved backwards, nearly hit the plane. So, and then after that they flew off. Now that's just one experience. Another experience, you know Amesbury.
Yeah.
Coming down the road, going to Stonehenge.
Boscombe Down on the left.
Yeah, it's a training area. But how often do you drive up to go on a mission to Stonehenge? You pull up to the roundabout, an Apache helicopter comes over from Boscombe Down and drops down over the top of your car about 10 foot, you know, and then trails you to Stonehenge into the car park. You then go into Stonehenge, two Chinooks come around, the squirrel yellow and blue training helicopters that seem to appear at strange moments. Number 45, for instance, which you'll see in a lot of my films, comes up around us. Yeah, could have been training, but we've then done something at Stonehenge. Two jets come over and they do the shock blast over the vortex to try and stop what you've just done. We then get in the car to drive down the Salisbury Road.
No, the shot blast is that would be the
afterburner.
Yeah,
it's right over the really low over Stonehenge. Shock the scalar.
Yeah. You're talking about using it as a scalar weapon, the shot blast, the scalar.
To disrupt a scalar.
Yeah.
What we've just done. But that's a whole nother story, you know. We've then gone into the car and we're driving. This is on. I'll make this video available for you to watch. You can, everything I'm telling you now, you can watch all this. You know, when we're driving down to Salisbury, the 45 helicopter comes back, flying over the car, and then he goes over up the road, and he flies back straight towards us, straight over the car. And the jet comes past us again. We've then gone around, past the roundabout going south, you know, half a mile from Stonehenge, and there's a lay-by. We've stopped in the lay-by. The number 45 helicopter, you know, is standing next to the car, comes down right next to us, hovers over the road, not caring that there's, you know, there's public there, and I'm standing there with my video camera, and you see where that tree is, hovers down where the tree is, snakes up towards us, flies around in a little circle, and then flies off, all on film. And that's just one of dozens and dozens of times that that's happened, you know. We're talking.
But that's a lot of resources that they do. I mean, that's.
Oh, we're talking millions.
Now,
and it's
what were you doing that would make them do that?
Dousing, without going into
At
it too much.
Stonehenge?
Yeah. But doing a bit more than dousing, you know. Grid work, which is what I've always done.
Now you're talking grid work
It's
because
a whole
you
other
are
interview, Miles.
the
for me.
Gridkeeper.
If I was to go into that, we'd be here for a day talking about
Well,
that.
why don't we go into a bit of it now?
You know.
Hold on.
Well, I've still got to do Scotland yet. Well, that's
So
what a lot of
what
my
is the
videos are
Gridkeeper
about.
called Gridkeeper for?
Grid keeping. You know.
Are you matrix reality grid keeping or what?
Just bringing a bit of balance here and there.
Because we know
Crop
that
circles.
attacking the grid very
Yeah.
aggressively.
I just douse where the vortex points are, and you've got there's one up there, but right behind you. Very important one up there. You know, where those two nasty ELF towers are. Which they're obviously dotted along the South Downs quite a lot.
We do have a nice little weather formation behind it as well.
Yeah.
And what's just over there, just for the sake of this picture?
That's called the trundle. If you take dowsing rods up there, you walk around a chalk track, and you'll douse a 32 pointed star around the top. I don't know what that means. It's just there. I've done it. You know, it's the first time second day I ever used dowsing rods. I did that.
Now, what is that something that's been there a long time, or is it a manufactured thing? Of what do you feel that is?
Trundle's been there a long time. This is where the water comes out of here. It pulls. What happens is the scalar wave goes down into the ground and it hits the water table, comes back up, and it pulls water up. A prime example of that, there's two in Avebury. Well, one in Avebury and one in Marlborough. If you go to, you know Avebury, don't you? Yeah. You know where the obelisk is? The giant obelisk where the white horse is on the way to Cain, I think it is. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, have you ever climbed up there?
Yes, I was there the other day. Almost.
Okay.
Right.
Well, if you stand where the obelisk is, look down in the bit that curves down, there's a load of bushes at the bottom. There's a pumping station in those bushes, and they're pumping water out. So what the obelisk does, it's like a double vortex. It pushes, the vortex comes down in an anti-clockwise, and it's tuned to the element of water. It hits the water table, brings the water up through the earth as it comes back up, and they pump it out and give it to everyone in Avebury, wherever. If you then go down to Merlin's Mound, which is that's
in
Marlborough
College.
Yeah. I don't know if you can get in there anymore.
Yes, but we would be in there. You can get in there during the Wiltshire Crop Circle Study Group hold a conference there.
And what you'll see is you've got Silbury Hill, which I don't know if you know how Silbury Hill works. It's a step pyramid of chalk coated in the earth, the grass, which makes it electric dielectric. So it's like a capacitor, which is what Salisbury Plain is. That's why Salisbury Plain is so important. That's why Stonehenge is there. That's why the military are there, because it's a huge control panel. And Merlin's Mound is 3/4 the size of Silbury Hill, but it's not an encased step pyramid. You can actually see the steps on it. Now if you climb up the top, have a look at what they've put on the top. There's a giant water tank on there. Yeah, you can climb up there and touch the thing. It's on if you go onto my YouTube channel, or just go onto YouTube, type in easy water. 3 films will come up. One of the obelisk, one of Merlin's mound, and you'll see us. Well, you were there, weren't you? We filmed down into the tank. And the easy water 3 is I'm riding up here on my bike.
Is that water energized in the way that they would use it for some other purpose?
I think it's very healthy water, because the water that comes out of Merlin's mound is fed to everyone at Marlborough College. So it's energised, it's healthy. Whereas tap water that we drink, especially in London, is pressurised. So the molecules slowly slow down and they stop spinning. That's why a lot of people put quartz crystal in the water to get the molecules spinning, because it affects your blood cells. It stops you from being lethargic.
I have one of the spirals.
The vortex, yeah. Brilliant.
Which I put onto my...
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Yeah.
Now,
good for your health.
Right now there's a lot of stuff going on about fracking.
Don't know much about fracking, to be honest with you.
I mean, energetically that must be very toxic to the water system.
Yeah.
But that's another thing.
I don't know much about that. So.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Scotland?
Yeah, Scotland.
What happened in Scotland, Miles? I would like to know the answer to a lot of that myself. I've watched James's video. I've heard what he said.
Let's be very clear. We're talking about a small palace that a dignitary.
Balmoral Castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody called the Queen would go in there, you know.
Yeah.
And yet you and 3 others gained access to that.
Yeah.
One of whom was James Casbolt.
Yeah.
Another was another gentleman who's here.
Who's here, and the other chap was JFK's advisor and a secret director of the CIA. Good friend of mine.
Yeah.
If I told you who he was, you probably wouldn't be able to find anything about him on the internet.
So what's
the point?
So were you in there trying to get some tea and scones with Her Majesty, or what?
My friend wanted to speak to them.
And which friend is this?
My friend from America, JFK's friend. And it was his idea to go up there.
So this was sort of like just dropping in?
You heard James talk about the Spear of Destiny.
Well, I want to hear you talk about it.
Yeah. Well, this is the chap that was linked to that in the past. So he had links to it many years ago, which I don't know much about. But if someone says to me, huh?
What sort of links?
That he was one of the modern day keepers of it. But it's very sketchy as to what's what. You know, I don't have those answers. But he's the one that said, let's go to Balmoral, there's going to be a meeting in there with all these dignitaries, and Bush and Blair will be there. And
who will be there?
Bush, Blair,
yeah.
Members of the royal family.
The which Bush?
Young Bush.
Bush Senior.
Junior.
W.
Yeah. I'm always up for an adventure. Yeah, I'll come with you. Hiring a 4x4, trip to Scotland. Stop in and see Roslin Chapel on the way. Never seen it before. So we've gone up there. We drove to Balmoral Castle. And all I remember, this is exactly how I remember it. We drove in through the front gate, and there was a few police about. We saw the police were there, so we knew people were there.
There were actually some police at Balmoral Castle with all these people in it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was police there.
So it wasn't sort of like open, you know?
Oh no. It was supposedly shut that day to the public. But we just sort of drove in. I just remember driving in, we've gone round the back of the castle. I can remember seeing someone walking their dog. My friend saying that he needs to go in and speak to these people. The next thing you know, I remember being told to leave.
No,
you know?
This is a big surprise for me.
Yeah.
That you'd be told to leave. Were you told to leave politely or impolitely or?
Well, you shouldn't be here. You need to leave. That was by the police. So, we're ever so sorry. We're lost. You know, my American friend here is we've just brought him to show him the sights. Oh, the castle's closed today. Okay, sorry, we'll leave. So we drove out, went over the road to the church, which is just across the road, did a bit of dowsing, really dark energy, and struggled to do a couple of things. And after about half an hour, it was a Range Rover, wasn't it? Big Range Rover comes flying in, stopped. James looked at it and he went, well, they look like MI6. They were big guys.
Now, why would they look like MI6 as opposed to MI5?
Don't know.
Do they feed the guys at MI6 an extra beef burger a week or what?
Don't know. They were big guys. All I know.
And the point about this is that this is once again giving some credence.
That's just speculation who they were, isn't it? I don't know who they were, but they were in a big Range Rover, kitted out, and they just stopped and stared at us, and we're like, what do we do? Well, we'll all get in. And matey was driving, wasn't he? American guy. Yeah, don't ever try and get away from these guys when you've got someone that usually drives on the right hand side of the road, driving your 4x4 for 10 miles. Yeah, I had a couple of scary moments, but they were right up behind us for a good 10 miles. I don't know if it was a chase. Was it a chase? Possibly.
Now, James was saying that you actually performed a ceremony.
I'll get to that in a minute. We've then gone to this hotel and we've sort of lost them. Gone into the hotel and we're sitting there saying, well, we've come all the way to Scotland. Have we wasted our time? And I opened up a map, put my finger on it, which is one of the things I used to do, and see where it lands. And I landed on a stone circle, coincidentally 2 miles away from the hotel we were at. Well, that's where we're going next. So midnight we went up there, didn't we? We've gone up to this stone circle. Amazing stone circle. I can't remember what it's called, but it's sort of 10 miles east of Balmoral Castle. Anyone could probably find it.
Is that 10 miles directly east or south-east? Or?
Directly, right. Roughly,
okay.
It might be up a little bit. We've gone into the stone circle and I'm taking photos, and there's white balls coming out of the ground, flying up in the air on the camera. Well, they look like they've got tails behind them, going upwards.
Now, are those actually tails, or are these streaks on the exposed image?
Don't know. Could have been exposed image. And we stood, 4 of us stood northeast, southwest, and we did a thing with Archangel Michael, didn't we? And I did all the talking.
Yeah, but there's some people. James was saying he is Archangel Michael.
Yeah, I don't know. But I could see this Archangel Michael in the middle of the stone circle.
That's
in my mind's eye.
What was that like? What was the experience like?
It was almost like I was locked in a trance with it all, really. And I started talking. An hour later, I finished talking. I don't know what I really talked about. I filmed it. It's all on film. I've not even ever watched the film back. Just didn't feel the need to. But after that happened...
I mean, the film doesn't have Archangel Michael on.
Oh, no. No, this was just up here. So, after that, we saw a glow. Do you remember the sky was glowing in the direction of... It was almost like when you look in the distance and you see a city and the sky glows up. That's what was above Balmoral Castle. There was a glow in the sky. And then a big helicopter came past in the distance, and there was funny lights moving about. UFOs, didn't know what they were. And as far as I'm concerned, we went back to the hotel and all went to sleep. And the next day we came home. Now James says that while we were in that, or after that stone circle, that we were taken into Balmoral Castle. And this whole thing happened with Odin's spear. I can tell you now, that wouldn't at least surprise me, after what I've already told you about time experiences. It would not surprise me if that happened. But I have no memory. I don't know what you're on about.
Talking about a TR3?
I don't remember anything. That's all I remember. I don't know.
Sky opening up, lightning shooting between us, up, down, below Balmoral Castle.
Did it? No? Don't remember that at all.
What did you not remember? Could you repeat
No.
Could you repeat what's been said by our colleague.
He said the sky. That sounds really familiar. You should say the sky opened up, but I don't.
Set up the crystals.
Oh, I made a crystal grid. There's a picture of it on. You look at Vortex Energy Part 1 on YouTube. The picture of the spiral, which was the vortex, which I actually took a photo of by holding the camera over my heart. You'll see a crystal grid that was in that stone circle. But he's saying, and it does sound familiar, the sky opening up, but the lightning, no, I've got no memory of that whatsoever. But he's saying lightning came down and hit the castle.
Black cloud rolling all over us.
Vague, very vague. I don't.
Black clouds rolling all over you. Yeah.
The cloud opened up right
Yeah.
up above us.
Yeah.
And made just an opening right up above us in a circle where we could see all the stars coming through.
That sounds familiar. Which is when I think I remember seeing the lights. I don't know what they weren't planes, but you know.
Light, like a light bolt. It wasn't
Okay.
lightning, but
Yeah,
light
yeah,
bolt of
yeah.
lightning came down, hit in between us,
Did
the
it?
floor, then went straight back up again. Went
No
straight
idea.
over the top of the cloud,
Yeah.
and then went down and hit the spiral to
Oh.
the whole castle. And then
Okay.
it went down,
Well,
and then when we saw the newspapers the next day, or a couple of days later,
yeah.
the Queen had a black eye.
Oh yeah, she had the black eye. I've still got the newspaper cutting for that somewhere.
Where did the black eye? What's the significance of that?
Don't know. No idea. Don't know. But yeah, it's all red, and her eye was really bloodshot, wasn't it? But then, you know, I watched James's interview, and he said we're in the castle, and Odin Spear's there, and I'm thinking, what? It wouldn't surprise me if we were in there, but I have no memory of it.
Now, forgive my ignorance.
That
The Spear of
whatsoever.
Destiny and Odin's Spear. What's the two different?
I don't know. I've got no idea. Are they one and the same thing, or are they two different things? I don't know. You know, maybe I do know, but I can't remember. I have no memory of it whatsoever.
But clearly, it seems that the American guys seem to be bringing you guys into something
Yeah.
which is maybe already arranged. I mean,
Yeah.
you weren't thrown out and arrested in machine guns.
Oh
You were
no,
just
not
told.
at all. Never. That's never happened. I was saying to you earlier, I walked into the police station, sat down with them for 3 hours and brought up all the secret space program, films, photographs, everything, and they just kept looking at me going, it's classified. It's classified.
Now, when did you walk into the police station? Why did you do that? As we're closing part one now.
Because I just got fed up with all the helicopters flying around me, and no one. Who do you talk to? But who do you talk to about it? You can't ring up MI5 and go, why are you, or go down to the Navy base and go, why are you flying all these helicopters, spending millions of pounds, flying along next to me? And I go to Glastonbury and sit on the tour, and you send out 30 helicopters in a day, which I'm sitting there filming. You know, why would you do that?
What are you looking for? Real, I'm okay though. Just about gone. Got me in a couple places.
Get the camera out. love it. I love a church. What a nutter. He's virtually stopped over the top of us. What are you doing? When it's you know when they're training and when they're not training, you know.
How do you tell that as we close?
Where you are, what you're doing, the situation you're in, what you've just done, what you're about to do, you know. Especially if they're flying over the roof of your car for 2 or 3 miles. You know, they turn when you turn, they fly over you and they turn over your head. Just, yeah, incredible really. No, I'm not saying I don't like them. I've always been interested in Navy and military vehicles and aircraft, but it's just not having an understanding of it. So I went to the police station and I said to them, you know, I said to the woman, I'm pretty pissed off that I don't know why you do this. Yeah, you could say, oh, it's because you put these space things on the internet, you show the moon. Yeah, but I'm just showing you something. I'm not giving you 100% proof that this is this, that's that, because I can't ever tell you that. And she just kept looking at me going, it's classified. Now for me that was enough. That made me happy. That,
in other words, that
she acknowledged that to me. She didn't turn around and go, you're completely mad, what are you talking about? She looked at me and went, that's classified. Great.
But how would she know that's classified? Who was the person you were talking to? A chief superintendent or what? Or?
No, they wouldn't speak to us.
Was this an arranged meeting?
Yeah, this was arranged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
this was arranged.
That's the end of part 1, which we'll mix with the existing video we've shot with your other colleague who knows James.
Yeah.
And
but the other thing about,
we're just going to do a tape change.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather tape?
I was going to say about the why I would have been at Balmoral Castle and not someone else.
Well, we'll do that in part 2. Second.
I haven't got much more to say, but I'll say that.
welcome to Basis 24 Part 4 vlog insert. We've just come here to do a little piece at the Tyrrell White Horse, which is all very, very nice. And we've had some people turn up, and they just turned up by surprise. Very military looking individuals, and they commented on my tripod, and we had a little bit of a joke. It seems they knew that I knew that they knew that I knew. They just happened to be here and turn up just when I did. This is the Basis Project on the road in Wiltshire, doing a blog report for Basis 24 Part 4. Well, in part one, you were having a special meeting in a small little castle with spears and stuff like that. James was with you.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah.
An American was there who was an advisor to JFK.
Yeah. And
who was the fourth person?
Our other friend.
Who has now left us.
He's gone, he's no longer there.
He ain't here anymore. But the good news is he has decided, hopefully he will talk to us at some future period of time.
I hope so. You know.
So what essentially did the Scottish thing have that was so important to you?
Bloodlines.
Now this is quite interesting because at the Amash conference, one of the witnesses, a guy called Jeff Scott, said practically exactly what James was referring to about uniting two reptilian bloodlines. That's the Judaic shape-shifting reptilian, what some people call the fake Jews, so-called, and then there's the Jewish reptilian, so the reptilian Germanic bloodline, the Thor. And that is something which this particular guy, Jeff, discussed on his presentation at the spring conference for the MASH project, which I was formally involved with.
Okay.
Since we seem to have rather a lot of reptilians in the MASH project, but we'll leave that out. So what does this mean?
Where do I start? In 2002, I lived in a place called Bosham, and that's where I used to cut vinyl for Sony. And my friend rang me up and he said, "Oh, you want to get down the church? It's on the news. They're holding court proceedings in the church." So I drove down there, went up to the door, and these barristers were walking out of the church.
What's the significance of that, holding a court proceedings in a church?
Well, I asked them what they were doing. "Oh, we can't tell you." And there was two really old historians there, and I asked them, and they said, "Well, there's a historian called John Pollock who's deceased. He's died now. He was quite old, and he wrote a few books and pamphlets about King Harold, claiming that King Harold was buried in Bosham Church, and in, I think it was the 60s, they lifted up the slabs and they saw some bones there, and the bones were under the archway. Now,
but there's important things about King Harold, isn't there? There's other stuff about this. Could you go into all that? Yeah, continue.
Well, I then said to the historians, I came out with something, trying to get them to tell me some information, and I rang my mum. And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm down at the church, TV. There's a TV crew here. They've held court proceedings." And she said, "Oh, you should come and look at your family tree," which my uncle had in Kent. She said, "You're actually related to King Harold." So I then told this to the two historians, and I said, "Oh, I've just been on the phone to my mum. She said there's a family tree, blah, blah, blah." They said, "Can we see it?" I said, "Well, yeah, I have to go and get it." So went off to Kent a couple of days later, came back with this family tree, and certain members of my family had traced it back to 827. It's on YouTube. If you type in King Harold 1066 family tree, I just filmed some of it with the video camera, and it's the only film on YouTube that shows this. And it showed that he was... I'm not the direct descendant of King Harold. I was descended from his older brother, who was murdered, which was Harold then became king because his sister Edith was married to Edward the Confessor, and Harold's father was best friends with Edward the Confessor and advisor to the king. And that's known as the Godwin or Godwinson family. And my family owned all the land below the River Thames. I then wanted to find out if Harold was really buried in the church, so I approached the church. But before I did that, I met the historians and John Pollock in Bosham Church with Meridian Television, and they interviewed me for the 6 o'clock news. I was famous for 2 weeks. It was quite fun.
Yeah, but that isn't done without cause.
No, and we then did. Well, I went to see the vicar at Bosham Church, and as soon as he looked at me, he went, "I know exactly who you are. Can you get out?" And he slammed the door in my face. And I was surprised, shocked, annoyed, because I wasn't trying to cause any trouble for anyone. I just wanted, family connection. I'd like to know. And the diocese didn't want anyone to know who was buried there. It was all stopped. And their excuse was, the bones, you can't expose them to the air and all this other stuff. It's King Harold. That's all you all need to know.
Bearing in mind he lost that battle.
Yeah.
Does this mean it has significance to the current royal family?
Yeah,
and
it does, because there was it the Battle of Stamford Bridge when there was infighting going on? So you think all these soldiers had to walk 200 miles? I don't know how far. It's at least 200 miles. So the whole of the British Army is up north. You've got William the Conqueror in France waiting to sail over to England. Now, history tells you that they had to wait for the sea to be calm for them to come over, and they just happened per chance to turn up at Hastings when the army wasn't down here. But if you do a bit of digging on the internet and look at who's descended from William the Conqueror, you'll come up with names like Nathaniel Rothschild, which I don't think many people know, but you can look it up. It's probably on Wikipedia or something. So I started looking into all this, and I was like, "Oh, that's quite interesting." Let's have a look at the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. So a few of my friends, we studied the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. We found a letter from Harold's wife. It was like a poem, and it was talking about Harold being buried so close to the water that the waves would overlap his grave. So if you think about if that is true, then Harold can't be the one in the church. So I set up a sort of time.
Would that be symbolic? Would that be a symbolic burial? Because obviously his grave would have been washed out to sea years ago.
I don't think. What we piece together, and a lot of this is speculation, but we've tried to put a lot of logic behind it, is that when William took over the area and Harold's estate, we think that his mother begged William to allow her to bury Tostig, Warnoth, Swain and Harold all in the churchyard. We don't think William would have wanted that, because it would have turned into a shrine. And you look at how many people visit Waltham Abbey. Now, he wasn't, I would tell you, I don't believe he was buried there at all. They say his skull's there. I don't think it is. So I then spoke to John Pollock again, and I told him what we'd found, and I met him there. It's a shame he's not alive today. And he said to me, he took me down into the crypt, and he said he believes that Walnuth and Tostig were buried in the crypt. If you look up the steps going down into the crypt, they look really old and worn, and as you come up, there's a newer floor. So we think William allowed the bodies to be buried into the floor, and they laid another floor over the top, which raised it up a bit. And he said to me that he'd brought in scanning equipment to the back of the church, and he reckoned, he did the length of this body buried at the back of the church, and he thinks that Swain, who I'm descended from, was buried there, because the body is at a slight angle but pointed straight towards the altar in a place which means redemption. Now Swain was a bit of a nasty character out of all the brothers. You just Google the history of Swain Godwinson. He did some nasty stuff, but he tried to redeem himself, and he was told, I think Edward the Confessor said to him, if you go on a pilgrimage to Turkey, come back, go and do it on your own, come back, you'll be redeemed. But he was murdered when he got to Turkey, and the body was brought back, so we believe. Now, I set up a time team, and we then found some more writing from Harold's wife that said that she came down with a boat, went up to the water's edge where these three big slabs were. They broke one of these slabs, pulled it aside, reached in, pulled out his body, took it off the Chester, buried it where no one will ever find it. We found 3 slabs, 1 broken, a pot of coins. I've never told anyone this, but it needs to be said, I think. We pulled out the dagger and the sword, King Harold's sword. It's rusty, it's hidden away.
How do you know it's his sword? What's significant?
It ties in with our research through the Anglo-Saxon chronicles and the writing from Harold's wife. I can't guarantee to you 100% that that's Harold's sword, but I've held it and it felt right. And I locked it away. I gave it to someone that to look after it, keep it in the best condition they can, where it still is today. There's no way I was going to hand it to the National Trust or anything like that, because it just didn't feel right to do that. But
why not hand it to the wonderful National Trust or English Heritage? What do you feel about that?
Don't trust them, really. Hopefully it'll be presented to the world, but in the right way for the right reason one day. But that left the question: who's buried under the arch? If only if that was Harold's body that his wife took up to Chester and buried, and we did find his sword, etc. We know there's bones under the arch, and the church did everything they could to stop them being dug up. Who is it? So we went through kings and queens, found out where everyone was buried, and who was unaccounted for. And the only other king that you'll find where people say, oh, he's here or he's there, is William the Conqueror himself. Yes. So, if you can't dig up stones to find out whether something's there, why not try dowsing with a pendulum? Where I know you've had experience with dowsing. In the right hands, it works. So I went there and I tried it, but I felt a bit biased. With my heart was telling me anyway it was William the Conqueror. So
that's difficult then.
Yeah, but I wanted to do it first and then bring people in that didn't know the story, and I would just ask them questions. And on about the 15th question, is this William the Conqueror? And I brought people in from all over the south. I brought a woman from Brighton. She's about 80 odd, and she's been dowsing her whole life, very trusted dowser. Didn't tell her the story, brought her into the church, went through kings and queens, even said silly names, Is this William the Conqueror? Every person that I took in there to douse over that grave said yes. Is that proof? To some people it's proof. To some people it's a load of old gobbledygook.
Well, until we get the DNA evidence.
Yeah. which we may never get. So then you think about William being a Rothschild or having that bloodline. He then went on to build a certain amount of cathedrals around the country. Including...
Anything special about those cathedrals? Are they trans-dimensional devices?
They're built on very powerful ley lines, because I've been in some of them, and one of them is Windsor Castle. He added to that greatly. Have you been to Windsor Castle?
Yeah, I was knighted a Knights Templar in the church at Windsor Castle. But
So,
I don't think that
know,
was a real deal, but something happened.
The Knights of the Garter are based there. The so-called Committee of 300 meet there. You know, I've been there a couple of times and had a good look around and found it to be very interesting. You know, very interesting place.
In what way was it very interesting?
Just the geometrics of the insides of St George's Church and who's buried there. You know, the Queen Mother's buried there.
Yeah, but what's the significance about that? I mean, does it make it... I'm looking at a hyperdimensional
it's just
situation where it's shifted in reality somewhere.
It's just part of the ley line system of the balance. You know, you've got two sides to balance, as we all know. Their side of the balance is control, isn't it? And if you look at the ley line system, which is part of Salisbury Plain and Stonehenge, which I say is part of the control panel, if you draw a line from Silbury Hill, the ley line runs straight through Windsor Castle into Buckingham Palace.
Does that connect with Windmill Hill as well, and those other forts in that area?
That's all part of the same system. So yeah, I have a strong connection with King Harold. But if you look at other parts of my family tree, Harold's wife was the sister of King Canute, so you've got the Danish bloodline. On the other side of my family, I'm related to the Queen through the illegitimate child of one of the King Georges. I can't remember now. I don't really care for it, to be honest with you. So,
but what's the significance of this thing about uniting the bloodlines that we initially started with? What do they need to do that for?
I don't understand it. I don't know. If I did know, I can't remember.
I mean, this is the thing about James.
This is what I would like to know.
Yeah, I mean, he's maybe a special clone. The whole thing with his situation recently is that basically they've got his DNA, they don't need him anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking at a time when James seems to be currently separated from his wife.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions myself still.
Such as?
Still. I'd have to start talking about the other thing that he mentioned earlier, which is to do with our bloodlines. And it wasn't, mine was traced back beyond King Harold. You go into Somerset House, they've traced it back over 4,000 years. Cool.
Can you do that again?
Yeah, they've. You go into Somerset House, my bloodline's been traced back over 4,000 years. It's back to Egypt, back to the Temple of Karnak in Egypt. And there's connections there that, I meet a psychic person or a clairvoyant and they look at me and they freak out and come out with things that I've heard from lots of them, but I don't understand it fully and I'd like to. And how do you ever find that stuff out? I don't know. But you're going to start asking me tricky questions now, aren't you? But I don't know enough of the answers to really talk about that, or I just know.
Okay, a lot of your work involves the secret space program images and also the crash landing of a reptilian crash landing that James referred to.
So cool, yeah. I
mean, the story about that is basically that there was a reptilian prisoner that was being flown back.
I thought it was a grey.
Yeah.
I was told, and I can tell
crashed.
you I've heard this,
Well,
but I cannot confirm that's what was there. I spoke to the police. I was there. I was in the car park. I remember talking to the police. Again, being told to leave. We were the only civilians that turned up.
I mean, this is
I
meant to have happened at an
remember-
ordinary civilian airport, a grass track airfield near Chichester. Is this here? Was it at this airport?
It's been mentioned already on the internet, so I could probably say yes. It might be.
So just to our right.
But I'll tell you what
camera
happened.
right.
I went the other side of this hill. I spoke to the police.
Are you talking about this hill here?
Yeah, I spoke to the fire brigade.
The other side of the hill that we're looking at.
Yeah. Now, when I was told to leave, I came into this very car
Were you
park.
there by yourself?
No. I
Who-
was with our friend who was here earlier. He was the one that said he saw something fall out of the sky from his garden and rang me up and said, "Oh, let's go up on the hill." And I thought he was just out for a jolly, you know, pulling my leg. And I thought, why not? I'll come with him, you know. So we came up here and were met with lots of flashing lights from the police, the fire services, the military. And I went up to that hill with a pair of binoculars and looked down, and I saw floodlights, big white lights, people searching the fields in military Land Rovers. But that's all that I could see was happening at the time. Then came back into this very car park, stood over there, looking at the sky, and from up there came down a silver triangle shaped thing that seemed to come down from very high above, came down to about 2 miles, had a real weird multicoloured trail behind it. Out of the front of it came this green light, and it went as far as you can see, around there, over to that valley, came up past the trees, about
Which valley?
over there, beyond the race course. Can you see?
So beyond the race course.
Yes, first, I've never told this story. Beyond the race course, up here, over this road, across the grass, no higher than 20 foot off the ground, the size of a big transit van, or maybe a small, well, no, maybe a Luton van or something. And it came straight across this car park within, I don't know, 20 feet of me. My other two friends were still looking over that way. I've got a camera in my hand, I couldn't move, you know, because this thing's silent, and it's a big green ball, like a fluorescent light, green fluorescent light. And it came past me completely silent, over this barrier and up the hill, straight over to the other side. Couldn't speak, couldn't move. It's like time, existence as you know it just stops, and everything you thought was real just falls apart in your head, because it's beyond anything you've seen before, you know. And the fact that it was completely silent, it just puts you into shock, you know. It's all very well seeing a triangle coming across the sky when you know it's been built at Area 51 or wherever, but something like that you can't actually see that it's a solid object or what it is. I don't know, it's just...
And that was
What are the
that
words
was here
for
to
it?
pick up its buddy, was
Sorry?
it? Was that here to pick up the prisoner, or the guy?
One would assume so. Yeah, one would assume so. And again,
So what was
that film?
let's recap in terms of what that incident was. Can you just give us a 1, 2, 3 of what happened
what
there?
it was?
Or what is claimed?
Claimed not by me though.
You're saying
I
that
never claimed anything. I don't know how much to say on this, because it pulls other people into this that don't know I'm talking about it, that were sort of involved really, and it's not.
Now, what do you
really
mean by
fair on
sort
them.
of involved?
Well, the witnesses.
So there was a multiple witness event
Yeah.
of a aircraft crashed
I
with
didn't
an alien
film
on
it.
board
Someone
and
else did.
And recovery of the alien. That's what we're talking
someone
about.
else filmed it. But when you look at the film, I don't know. You see this light, which is a white light. You see 3 or 4 of these tall, dark-shaped things walk over to the light, pick something off the ground. As soon as they touch it, all their hands glow up, which you can see on the film. They carry this thing to one side and stand it up. A lot of people said that these tall, dark things were firemen. Well, I've shown still pictures of this to firemen, and I've said, if you were standing next to this light and someone was filming it from this angle, what would you look like this? And they say, well, where's all the reflective stripes? And there's nothing. The only thing that ever lights up on these people are their hands and their heads, tops of their heads.
Now, what colour do they light up? In what way do they light?
White. But when you go through the film, frame by frame, and they all stand and look in a certain direction, you see a picture of, I don't know, they sound so stupid saying this, but like they've got these wings, like they've got these little horns on the front of their heads, like their chins are elongated and they've got long necks and long legs. Now, I can't tell you what they were because I didn't actually go up and speak to them. I just know that's in the picture. Now, James got this picture given to him and he published it on Avalon, Godlike Productions, Alien Earth, all these other places. And it was then sent to, what's that guy that did the Dulcie papers? Branton. He then sent the picture to Branton. Branton wrote something about me on his website, and someone in the NSA said to James, these are winged draconians, this is the only picture in the world, how the hell did you get this? Within a day, the threads were taken down from Godlike Productions, Project Avalon, Alien Earth, everywhere, all threads gone, picture removed.
And you didn't,
I didn't remove it.
but you didn't sort of happen to keep a copy we could sort of sneak in on the edit.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I haven't got it with me, but I could probably. It's probably better off taking a snapshot from one of the YouTube films, because when we upload,
I don't like doing that. The compression and everything else.
Yeah, I know. I'll see what I can do. What I can do. But it was like, you know, people slate a lot of those films from 2007, and what people don't realise is that YouTube only started in 2005 and there was no HD uploading.
Yeah, that's right.
There was no. It was 240 by whatever
that's
it was.
Very true.
People don't. A lot of people don't even realise that. You know, you're trying to show people stuff, and there's only a certain resolution that you can give them, and a lot of it was awful. And it was like, well, it's the best we can do for what we've got. So, but we uploaded another version of it a couple of years ago, and it was a bit clearer. And in one of the still frames, there's like an etheric being standing next to the fire brigade or something, and it looks very tall. It looks like 30 foot tall or something, but there's a ball of light behind it in the air. I don't know if that's the same one I saw or not, but it could have been. But then James was saying that, you know, you see this film and you see this plane in the background and there's 3 guys standing there. And I said to him, when you see these black things, you can see these 3 humans behind them. And he just laughed at me. And he pretty much, when you said to him, who touched the spear in Scotland, and you said, was it Gridkeeper? And he sort of went laugh. He did that to me when I asked him who those people were standing by the plane. He said, who do you think it was? He said, that's you, so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm like, is it? I don't know. Because like always, I just remember I go somewhere and all I remember is a policeman telling me I shouldn't be here and I've got to leave. You know? So maybe I need regression at some point.
I mean, is this the...
I don't know.
Do they use the same phrase? Is it sort of like a wake-up call?
It could be, yeah.
A wake-up
Yeah.
phrase, you shouldn't be here,
Yeah.
it's time to
It's
leave.
time to leave. I know. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know? Makes you wonder.
Well, what do you think of this whole thing? That's a big
It's
question.
dragged on a bit. I can tell you that much. I thought I'd know everything by now, but I don't know. I've had a long break from it for quite a few months, which is why I spoke to you, really, because you know I spent years being involved in all these little episodes, chasing my tail.
Yeah, is this your reptilian tail?
So funny. Finding, you know, and then you think you find out all the answers, and then you realise you don't, and something else happens, and I think it was after, you know, I tried to get closure when I went to the police station to talk to them for a few hours, and you know, the things I said, I don't know, if the average person walked into a police station and said to their faces what I said, I don't think they'd let you back out again.
Well, that happens to people. They get sectioned.
I said some outrageous stuff to them, you know, and when I walked
But that's
in,
because you got the right people to listen.
yeah, and when I walked into that police station, I was, you know, I was polite and everything, and when the PCs came out to escort us into the room, they, you know, body armour, the guns, handcuffs, you name it, they had it around their belts, and I was like, oh, please to me, no, wouldn't back off, wouldn't touch me. These guys wouldn't touch me, and when they sat me in that room, there was 2 doors. Both doors had to be left open, propped open with fire extinguishers, and while I'm sitting there, every now and again there'd be people walking past in suits, and they'd stop and look at me and then walk, and I'd just smile at them. So
You're allowed to see it. You can, yeah.
you know, and I don't know who was listening or whatever. I'd imagine there was a room behind us with a load of people sitting there listening to what I was saying, but
I mean, there wouldn't be the old double mirror.
oh, there was no mirror in the room, but it was obvious it was being recorded. Who were, you know? But yeah, I walked out as easily as I'd walked in. None the wiser. But as I said earlier,
What was the
all
point
I
of
got-
that? I mean, if they wanted to get the stuff, they just nick it anyway. Is that right? I mean, what did you feel you're going to achieve by doing that?
I didn't know. I
You just
wanted
felt
to
you
do
just
it.
needed
Yeah,
to
I
do
just wanted
this.
something I needed to do because I'd done it before. There's a story that James spoke about, which our friend will elaborate another time because it's his story. It's not my story, but there's a story that James spoke about where he says that 2 Delta Force agents were killed in the road, hit by a car, and they had to tie with the red stripe on.
And
he
what's
wrote-
Delta Force? What's that?
Just some American agency that is wrapped up in all this somehow to do with the time jumping and everything.
Now, what do you mean by the time jumping?
Or the loss of time, you know. So an incident happened, 2 of these guys were killed. The next day in the paper, the story was different. It said a woman was killed crossing the road by so-and-so coloured car. I saw the pictures. There was 2 bodies. They were men. They were killed by a different coloured van, not a car. And I was pretty irate about this. So I marched into the police station with the news cuttings, slammed them on the counter. And I said to them, what, I know you, it was a different police force to the area where it happened as well. I knew the funeral director of that area. She went to see the coroner the next day. The coroner said, you back off, don't ever ask about this. And when the 2 bodies were taken from the scene, the police were told to back off. A black van turned up, they were loaded up in it, a military helicopter came over and flew away with it as it drove off. I went into the police station and confronted them, and they just wouldn't speak back to me, you know, and I just told them what I knew it was wrong, this was a cover-up, blah, blah, blah. Said my piece in a rather, I might have been a little bit rude, but I was just, you know, I was like, well, if you can't trust you, who can you trust? That's where I was coming from. It's funny that when I went back this year, I was the same woman at the counter. I said, hello.
And she remembered you from last time.
I don't know. They weren't very forthcoming at all. But obviously, you know, I was in there for 3 hours. There's so much that was said that I'm not telling you now, because most of it isn't my story. I was just there. I just wanted to talk about the helicopters, and I said to them, what's with the helicopters and the Navy? And you lot have seen some of this happen. I know you have. And she just kept saying it's classified. But to me, that was, even though I didn't walk away with any answers, just to get someone from the police force telling me that what I'm trying to ask them about that's happened to me is classified, I was happy with that, because it gave me something, you know. And they could have sat there and gone, "No, you're a loony."
Or you would
Get
have been
out.
sectioned, and you
Or
would
they
be a
could have
loony.
sectioned me, but they didn't. I walked out as easily as I'd walked in.
Because it's very dangerous walking into a police station, because you don't have any rights of arrest and all that.
No.
You've voluntarily given up your liberty.
Yeah, I did that. But it felt right to do. It felt like something I had to do. You know?
So how many people were at the meeting? Was it
There was 3 people there. That was it.
you and your
So-
friend?
My friend and this policewoman. And she wasn't a member of CID or anything, which was supposed to be. But I'd imagine they were all sitting in the other room listening, biting their nails.
Well, what about this
Maybe I'll-
secret space program thing? I mean, is it real or what? I mean, you're talking about some other guy there who we'd like to also talk to at some period of time. in his own time,
I hope he'll see this and eventually talk to you. But I thank John Lear for talking to me, really, about some of this stuff, because I didn't know what it was, you know. But there was 2 or 3 that he said he'd recognised and spoke to other people about. And he said that there was one, it had a triangle on the back, triangle shape, raised up like that, and he had a name for it. And he said that's one of the ones that the space shuttle drops cargo to on the way to the ISS.
Yeah.
Um,
On its little extended orbit
Yeah.
before it jumped.
but no, I can't.
I think Richard Hoagland used to refer to that. He used to refer to it as a milk round or
Did he?
something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, what can I say? It's, you know, yeah, it's filmed from Earth.
Well, in a nutshell, what is the so-called secret space program? What is it about?
No, I can't do that, because that's just my opinion, and I don't want to say it. Because you're going to open up a huge can of worms for me, Miles.
Now, what do you mean? It's just, the secret space
You know?
program.
Well, it's a secret space program, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
it's not just about
Gary
weapons. It's
McKinnon
not just
found
about
out.
weapons, is it?
You know, I mean,
You know.
Gary McKinnon found out all about that, about the secret.
Well, a lot of
massive
people
core.
think that he saw on the Pentagon files what we were actually filming. But like I've said to you before, I've never signed the Official Secrets Act. Not that I can remember. Yeah, and if I had signed it and I don't remember, I'm sure I wouldn't be.
Well, what are they doing? Are they mining on Mars or what?
Oh, any of that I know as much as you, Miles. Mining and Mars, it's just only what other people have told me or I've read. You know, but a lot of the space program I believed had to do with all this Stargate stuff and what we spoke about earlier about the Stargate conspiracy.
Actually,
with James
gating from
Hurtak.
one universe to another,
Possibly.
or the Stargate. We're
controlling-
referring to.
Manipulation of the Earth grid and the control, and you know, you start.
But that's affecting other dimensions and realities, and they're getting annoyed about it.
Yeah.
This
So
is
am
like
I.
terraforming on a hyperdimensional scale.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know. It's just.
I mean, it's been suggested or been told that
It just
certain people
opens
are
up
saying
so
that
many other channels, doesn't it, of interwoven events and things that are happening. You know,
you're talking about timelines.
everything.
Now, what's timelines and everything?
I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there, Miles, really. Because I could talk about stuff like that and I can't offer any proof of anything, and it's stuff that people have probably already heard already. You know?
Well, I haven't heard it for the sake of the tape.
You know?
This is reality management.
Yeah.
Keep on seeing
It's just
lines of force here behind
wouldn't
us.
surprise me. Well, my connection to it was to do with the work on the ley lines and the crop circles and all that sort of thing. What happens on Mars or on the moon, I don't know. I've shown pictures and video of the moon. I can't tell you what it is, but I can show you a tower with a big ball on the top, or a crater that where the picture looks completely different to the one NASA showed you. That's all I can show you. I can't tell you what it is.
Were you able to look at this with like an 8-inch or 10-inch Newtonian or what?
8, 10, 16.
So these are things which people can.
Yeah, anyone can do this on the moon. You know, I've told people say, why don't you the spaceships? Yeah, that's not my life. That's not my story, really. That's not for me to say. But the moon, I was told how to film the moon. I actually had one of the telescopes myself, which I've now sold. But it was no secret. My friend, when he showed me, I said, let me tell people how to do it. And he said, yeah, tell people. And I started telling people, but has anyone else done it?
Well, was this as what
no,
type?
But
well,
why not? And all you
what
need
do you need to do this? As a celestron
get
of
the
what?
back of your telescope. Meads are the best ones because the mirrors are very good and they're very steady telescopes. Is get your video camera, get a tube, an aluminium tube, and gaffer tape it between the camera and the telescope. Make different lengths, experiment, try different video cameras. That's it. It's that easy. There's no.
You're talking about replacing the eye optic. With the camera.
There's certain modern HD cameras where you can leave the lens on it, but on my telescope, we hooked the lens out, so it went straight onto the CCD chip, straight onto the mirror. But you don't even have the lens on the telescope. You don't do that. You know.
And then you have to adjust that in order to focus it.
Yeah, try a different length and stuff. But you go into, talk about conspiracies and stuff. You go into any shop that sells telescopes and you tell them that technique, they'll tell you it won't work. And we did that with one a few miles away, and he was quite adamant that no, it won't work. This is how you have to do it. It only works this way. So we went back in there with film of the moon and some of the other bits and bobs. This was back in 2007. He was actually a Templar, and because I was quite annoyed that he wouldn't believe me, or he was trying to disinfo. So we took this stuff in, and he sat down on his computer and showed him, and he just looked at us and went, one question: why are you still alive? Yeah.
So are you saying that by using the conventional way that astronomers would use, it lowers the resolution in some way that you don't see?
What, for the moon?
Yeah.
I think so, but then you see people with really good SLR cameras taking good pictures of the moon. But then I wonder how close they're actually getting, whether they're taking it from afar and then blowing up the picture. I don't know.
Well, SLRs
I've tried to go on places like Bad Astronomy and talk to these people, and they just start shooting at me, so I don't even go there anymore. Oh yeah, you're that guy, yeah, you're full of shit. Well,
yeah.
No, I'm trying to find out what this is.
Oh, the astronomers are very keen to make sure you don't know what's really going on.
Yeah.
Well, John Lear explained to me recently that his 2 grandchildren had been abducted and taken to the moon.
Really?
And I think that was taken separately. But they referred to an octiform life form up there.
Octiform?
8 legs, 4 down each side.
Really?
And a longitudinal body like a mantid.
Wow.
And she wanted to go back.
Really?
When am I going back to the moon, Granddaddy? Or Pappy, or whatever they call it.
It's the first I've heard of anything like that,
this
but it
is
wouldn't
something
surprise me.
This is something he showed me from a file in his place in May, I think.
Yeah.
But there definitely is activity up there.
Yeah, the stuff I've seen on the moon, it's just, I don't know, tall towers with balls on the top that look like Tesla towers. Is that natural? I don't know.
Now, okay, if somebody wanted to build one now, you're talking about an 8-inch or a 10-inch Newtonian
telescope.
Reflector.
Yeah.
And you take the eyepiece.
I'm not even an expert on telescopes.
But you take the eyepiece out.
Yeah. Take the eyepiece out.
And you take the lens off your video camera.
Yeah. and just gaffer tape them.
Because this is important, because
You know?
the lenses, by removing the lenses, you're also removing a lot of distortion products and things which will fuzz up the picture.
Yeah,
It's not going to be of any benefit.
yeah. So there's a film. We even filmed the back of the telescope. I think we did it twice. There was one time with the smaller scope, and I'm filming the back of it while he's filming one of these craft, and then I zoom into the star in the sky and then back out and then back to the back, and then there's no tape in it, so it can't be playing anything. The other time we filmed the moon and Saturn, and I'm at the back of the telescope filming it, and even when you put that on YouTube,
I mean,
people
are you
don't-
talking about a refracting telescope? I mean, when you talk about the back of the telescope, that's where the mirror is.
yeah, the ones from the back.
Yeah.
See, look, I don't know anything about
Well, they're
names of telescopes,
Yeah, but-
different types, and I've been working with them for years. All I know is I had an 8-inch telescope which I bought off someone. I took the back of it and I did this, and my mate.
You're
does
talking
it,
one
yeah.
long tube and...
But to see the spaceships, no, that won't let you see the spaceships. That's something else, mate. That's,
You need a really
that's
good...
not from. No, you won't see them, mate. That's not for me to. That's someone else. Like I say, that's someone else's story. That's
Okay.
a big story. And I hope one day, after seeing me, I hope that they're okay with me saying this much to you, which they should be, because anything I've told you now, yeah, we've said on the internet already.
Well, what about stuff you haven't said on the internet?
No, I won't talk about stuff that's not my story, because I've seen how it's affected people's lives, you know, when certain things,
Such as, could you explain?
life made difficult, and I wouldn't do that I'm not here to make anyone's life difficult. And, oh look, there's a hot air balloon. Sorry to change the subject, but there's a really hot air balloon just coming over the hill. See it in the distance?
Yeah.
Yeah, where are you standing?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, out there.
Yeah.
I've seen people's lives torn apart by some of this stuff because all they've tried to do is tell the truth. And I wouldn't make that worse for anyone. You know, a lot of people have said to me in the past, "Oh no, but what about everyone in the world that wants to know all this stuff and that?" Well, great, let's put something on the internet just so a load of people want to know, but if it ruins someone's life, well, I don't think that's right. But that person, once they've got through their difficulties, would probably maybe one day come forward and say everything that people really need to know about this subject. And I would like them to do that. But that's not my place, you know. It's not
As
my
they say,
discovery. I
horses
didn't
for
make this
courses.
discovery. I spent many years with this person looking into this, and I was the one that convinced this person to put the stuff on YouTube, you know, which I presented on YouTube. Yeah, which about over 9 million people, I think over 9 million hits on my YouTube channel now, which is probably due to those films, you know. So, yeah, I wish there was more I could tell you about that, but that's not my place, Miles. You know.
Okay, finally, what do you feel of the James Casbolt situation? I mean, what's your...
I need to speak to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to know why he's suddenly been ejected from the family. I know Hayley's parents... Well, her mum was okay, but I know the father really wasn't happy about James. I've not seen Hayley or James for 2.5 years, I think. 2 years? Good 2 years.
And since then, of course, they've had a baby. He's been in the States.
I saw them just before they went back to America. I had dinner with them just before they went back to America.
You were in America.
Sorry? Oh, no, I had dinner with them here in England before they went back to it, when James went over to America to stay there. So when I heard that he had been left at a hotel or whatever, yeah, I was quite shocked about that, because I'd like to know what happened. But when I emailed James, I said, "Are you okay?" He didn't tell me anything really. He just said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm okay."
Well, that's...
Well, are you? What does that
yeah.
mean? You know.
Yeah.
So hopefully soon I'll get to speak to him.
But what about, I mean, there's new characters which have been brought into this equation. Max Spears, who's another Brit in America.
Yeah.
He's had similar experiences. It's same kind of parallel thing.
You've
There's Sarah
interviewed these
Stanger.
people, haven't you?
Sorry?
You've interviewed these people.
Yes.
Yeah. I've
I spoke at the Super Soldier Summit in May, and
what are we on now? March, April, May. Since February, I've just been on holiday, mate. I've just been enjoying my life.
But I'm interested in these other characters.
So I've got a bit of catching up to do. I need to watch your interviews with these people
Right.
and see what they're saying. I've really done nothing, Miles.
But
I've just spent 3 months in Ireland.
I mean, for instance, and then there's also Nina, and so there seems to be a very substantial
Yeah.
British input to this whole question, and they all seem to have similar types of evasive stories and things. And
Half of my problem is the gaps. It's like Balmoral Castle. I would love to say to you, yeah, we went under the castle. This happened, that happened. I've got no memory. Everything I told you about Balmoral is everything I remember.
Did you have the
You
black
know?
cube at the front of the head?
A black cube at the front of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe it was a pink cube with polka dots.
I've got no idea.
No?
But this is where, I know James has had regression in the past. I've never had regression.
Would you want to have regression? Do you trust
would.
regression?
But I'd need to find the right person to do it,
But how do you find the right person?
Maybe you could find someone for
Yeah,
me,
well,
Miles.
I'm not too sure about
Have you
regression.
found anyone on your travels?
Yeah.
Because I would like to... I know they say when you have regression, you shouldn't be told anyone else's story of what happened, but, he's told an event of what happened at Balmoral. Will that influence my regression? I don't know, but
Yeah.
it might be worth a shot.
Yeah.
All I know is that I was there. I was in the grounds when I shouldn't have been. I remember
And you
that.
were politely informed, could you please leave?
and we left. I don't argue with these people.
But how do you get in to leave to start with?
I remember just driving in.
I mean,
Doesn't that sound odd?
I mean,
and then we're at the back of the castle.
there's been no security issues of any kind in the United Kingdom for the last 40 odd
We
years.
drove in, mate.
Just casually driving in,
Yeah.
strangers.
Didn't get stopped by anyone. We just drove in. I'm at the back of the castle being
The
asked
Queen's
to
in there with
The Queen's
President
in there,
Bush and all
Charles, supposedly Princess Anne, Bush and Blair, and we just drove in.
that. And nobody questioned.
Nobody questioned it.
I think somebody must have let you in.
Yeah.
But finally, do you have any final things you want to say today?
No. Thanks for talking to me. I know a lot of people over the years have wanted to see me, or I've spoken a lot on my videos, but no one's ever seen me.
Yeah.
A lot of people think I'm someone else, or I'm not real,
Ooh.
or I'm this, that, or the other. But I don't know. It just these.
So you are Duncan.
Yeah.
The Gridkeeper.
Yeah. I'm real. Yeah.
And you're related to a few people who've run the country in the past.
Yeah, we ran the country. I say we were the good guys. We were the good guys. When we ran the country, the capital of London, capital of England was Winchester, because we guarded Salisbury Plain. The most sacred bit of land I've ever known. That's my phone.
So okay,
What was
you were the importance of Salisbury Plain and
Yeah.
why the crop circles. You mentioned the crop circles.
Sacred
what on
land.
earth?
It's electric dielectric. The whole plain is electric dielectric. If you study ley lines, study the ley line maps, look at where they go, look at the geometric shapes, the links to Karnak in Egypt, running through Italy. There's a lot of crop circles in Italy. The ley line goes through the Vatican.
Are those Italian crop circles on the same ley line?
They're in the right area. Yeah, they're in the area.
Because there's very few crop circles in this year.
Yes, there is.
Or rather, there's only 2 that let us see.
There's been some recent ones, hasn't there? But there was a problem. There hasn't been much rain. That doesn't help because you need.
There's 2 months. We're running 2 months late because of the weather.
You need that electric dielectric layer of Salisbury Plain. When it's fully activated, you need the rain. You know, you really need the rain on it. That makes a lot of difference.
And this is for the orbs to come up.
Orbs to come up.
Come from the ground, or
Let's
do they
just
come
say
up from above?
On an interdimensional level, it helps the connection. It helps get things done. You know. If that makes any sense.
So I suppose we're going to want more rain.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm getting covered in bugs because it's that time in the year. It's making me very itchy.
Well,
on my ears. But it balance. It's just keeping balance, Miles. You know, I've been involved in that side of it for years. I've made videos about layer lines. I've said a lot of secrets in my videos. There's certain things at a certain level that I don't talk about because when you play poker, you don't show your cards. You just don't do it. So I don't do that. But I just play the game of balance. That's all I've ever tried to do, really. You know?
Well, that's what it's all about, balance.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much indeed. We'll put this together. It'll be part of
cheers.
Basis 23.
Maybe sometime we'll do a follow-up when the others...
Well, if we can put all that together in one go.
Together, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll wrap up.
Okay.
Wrap up and we'll bring you down the road, is that right?
Yes.